Welcome into Kitchen Talk Pickleball Edition. I'm your host, Caitlin Miller, and this week joining us is Joe Sexton. He's the co-founder and president of Ace Pickleball Club. Also has a huge franchising background with Sky Zone. Joe, so interested to hear about your journey. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Caitlin. It's looking forward to a good conversation here, even though I learned you're a Bruin and I went to
Yeah.
UC San Diego. So not that there's a rivalry coming from your side, but from my side for sure.
I love that. I love the California connection for sure. And so you have like a cool story. You have been in the franchising world for quite some time with Sky Zone, have made your way obviously to Ace Pickleball Club, which is absolutely booming nationwide right now, which is super exciting. So, I mean, just talk to us a little bit about your background with franchising and then kind of how you made your way over to pickleball.
Sure. Now I feel very old when I say this, but I've been in franchising for 20 years now, and never thought that that would be my full path. But I sort of stumbled backwards into franchising. I had a job at a little children's gym in San Diego through college, and when I graduated, I got offered a job at the corporate office. And they said you get to go around and you get to train and support franchisees, which I had never even heard that term before at that time, right? A franchisee. So cut my teeth there pretty quickly. Again, traveling around the country, helping franchisees with their business, and then sort of made my way around the industry to some different concepts. I spent a few years with Mathnasium Learning Centers. And then, as you mentioned, Sky Zone as well, and more recently, right before Ace Pickleball Club, was with sort of a development agency out of New York City, where I got to help about a dozen or more new franchise concepts get their launch and help them set up their infrastructure, et cetera. So played a ton of different roles. I've been in, like I mentioned, support, training, a little bit in finance and sales, marketing. So really had my hand in every cookie jar.
A quick break to tell you about something that's honestly helped me stay on the court longer and recover way faster. It's called Kinian. If you're dealing with knee or back pain like myself, tight shoulders, or just general soreness from playing a lot of pickleball, their recovery tools are a total game changer. The Move Plus Pro uses red light therapy to reduce inflammation, relieve pain, and help your body heal faster. And it's small enough to fit in your pickleball bag. Kinian also has a trigger point therapy tool that's designed to release muscle tension, break up tight spots, and improve mobility with targeted pressure. It's quick, effective, and super easy to use. So use code Caitlin for 10% off or scan the QR code right in front of you. From pain to possible, get back to doing what you love both on and off the court. Now back to the show. And then how did you end up with Ace Pickleball Club?
Yeah, so my mom started playing way before it was cool,
Yeah.
and of course I think my mom's cool, but it was about 15 years ago that she started, and she got turned on to it by my uncle Jim in Boise, who had bought net and lines and basically would travel everywhere with this setup. And then one family reunion, they brought me over and said, "You want to play some pickleball?" And I said, "Uncle Jim, I don't want to beat you up too bad here, right?" He was in his 70s. I'm in my 20s, athletic prime. And he just mopped the floor with me, and I had so much fun playing with my mom and my uncle, my niece, different generations out there. So I went back to LA at that time I was living in, and kind of forgot about it. Right now and then I would see it out on a tennis court being played and say, "Ah, yeah, pickleball, that's right." But it just wasn't booming yet, so there wasn't really an opportunity. But my mom kept playing, and when I would go home for the holidays, we would always have like a family get together and tournament around pickleball. A couple years ago, well, actually 4.5 years ago now, my business partner, our founder and CEO, Jay Diedrich, gave me a ring, and we had worked really closely together at Sky Zone. We'd stayed close friends. We batted around some really bad business ideas over the years, but he came to me, and he and his wife Vera had fallen in love with it down in Florida. But he said, "Look, I think there's something here to move this indoors, and we already know how to do 90% of this, right? Because we were used to building trampoline parks, which is the same real estate play, very similar development process, et cetera." And so Look, I would like to say I immediately said, yes, let's do it. But it took some convincing and some time to really hash it out. But here we are.
Let's take a quick moment to share with you my go to gear on the pickleball court. Centerline Athletics makes player focused apparel built for the court. Their fabrics are SPF protected, quick cooling, and super breathable with that airlight feel. The Grip Tech technology is clutch. You can wipe away that sweat in the middle of a match and stay locked in. Every detail is designed and tested by players for maximum performance. So go grab your Centerline Athletics apparel and use code Miller for 20% off everything. All right, now let's get back to it. That's awesome. And I mean, I guess what lessons have you taken from your franchising background? Obviously 20 years. I mean, that's massive and that is used to your benefit. What lessons have you taken from that experience now to be successful with Ace?
Yeah, I think, franchisees, as much as a franchisor would like them to be, they're not robots. They are individuals, they're humans. They have emotions, they have ideas. And you really have to find the balance between the long-term vision for the brand and the company and the short-term success for franchisees, right? And so I'll give you a quick example, right? We don't host outside tournaments at our clubs. And it's not because we're trying to be standoffish from the industry or anything of that nature. It's that we always put our members first. And if we were a member at our own clubs, we wouldn't like being kicked out of our club, right? So somebody else could host a tournament, even if you're getting that nice hit of revenue. So sometimes, right, it's hard for a franchisee to see that, right, and say, well, they're offering me X, 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever it may be, to host this tournament, and I really want that revenue, right? And so sort of trying to balance the different ideas, the different wants and needs, the different humans, right? It's difficult, but you can't expect everyone to just fall into line, be a robot, do everything exactly, as you want it to go, especially in a brand new industry like this that's just evolving, as you know, daily.
I was gonna say, I mean, that's like just being able to evolve with how the industry's changing. Like, how do you, from opening up your first franchise to now, like, how do you kind of keep up with the evolving nature of this industry?
Well, you have to get out and play a little bit, right? I think
Yeah.
that's a big piece of it. Get to the outdoor courts, get to the rec center, the community gym. I go to the YMCA, and I actually don't even really have time to play there, but I stop and chat with people a little bit just to sort of understand how the consumer, right, is thinking about pickleball in general. And then, of course, trying to connect with the other brands in the industry as well. Mookie, as you mentioned before, our VP of partnerships, does a great job of keeping in tune with the other players in the industry and kind of understanding what they're seeing. I think, as the industry is not shy to share learnings. I think everyone wants everyone else to
200%.
succeed right now. Yeah.
And a big exciting announcement for you guys too. You just partnered with DoorDash, which is awesome. That is huge. So just, major partnerships as you just spoke to like that. How is that so vital, for your brand and just building that and building nationwide?
Yeah. Well, when we look at partnerships, the for years, right, we've really been looking at it as how do we add value to the membership for our members, but also to the lives of our members, right? How can we do that? And so we've sort of steered clear of partnerships thus far. And as you know, in this industry, there's a lot of trading that happens. There's a lot of like little partnerships that happen. Pretty much every brand has, a sponsorship section with, a dozen different logos on it. What we really wanted to do was wait and find a partner that again could just really add value to to our clubs and to our members. And so DoorDash, we spoke with them for a long time, but we thought, look, we don't offer food and bev at our locations, right? And how could we sort of creatively have an offering for our members there on the occasions that, hey, I'm going to spend all day Saturday there playing, right? Because most of our members, They come in the morning, they get some games in, and then they're off to work, or they come in the evening, they're home to make dinner, yada, 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 right? So it's more of a health and wellness play than it is entertainment for them. But how can we sort of integrate something really convenient and easy for our members? So that was the primary objective. Of course, getting a brand like DoorDash, that's a household name, is going to be huge for us in visibility, in the legitimacy of our championship series, right? Which is an amazing tournament that happens simultaneously across all of our clubs on the same weekends, the same types of events. They're competing to win at their local clubs so they can come to the national championship, which is going to be at the end of January in Dallas this coming year. But it brings some legitimacy to that on top of the $250,000 prize pool. So we're really, really excited to welcome DoorDash as part of our family and ecosystem. And we've got a few more announcements coming soon.
That's awesome. And to someone listening that may not have ever been to an Ace Pickleball Club, how would you describe the culture there? Like, what makes Ace different than, let's say, another facility?
Yeah, I think at Ace, look, everyone sort of has the same talking points here, right? Which is it's a warm, welcoming community. That's true for sure, right? Where we are, I think it's true at a lot of clubs because of the nature of pickleball. I think that that element still exists, although you and I could get into this, but I think it's fading a little bit and it's becoming a little more clicky, et cetera. But we treat it as a sport. And it's not it's closer to volleyball and basketball and baseball than it is to beer pong, right? We don't see this as a hobby, or it can be for some people, but the people that are going to be members of Ace Pickleball Club, it's not that they take it seriously in the sense that they're trying to become a pro, but they take it seriously in the sense that they're there to it's health and wellness and competitiveness. They're there to not only get the workout in, but to have some moments, right? And I think sports are all about these moments. And the example I like to use is recreational 3-on-3 basketball for me. I played a lot. I played every day in my 20s,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it was a blast. And I know you played a ton of sports growing up and probably still do. Um, but I still think about, it was that 24-hour fitness, half court, 3-on-3. I hit a game winning shot. And you know who else thinks about that shot? Absolutely nobody. Nobody, right? It's 15 years ago. Nobody knows what happened. Nobody cares. But it still pops into my head now and then and gives me that feeling, right? That emotion, whatever chemicals are being released. And I think with pickleball, pretty much everyone can have those moments, right? It doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter your it doesn't matter any of that. And you can experience them pretty early on in your journey, right? And they're addicting, right? You want more of those moments. And so we really treat it as a sport, and we have our starter series, right, to sort of take a beginner, into that intermediate stage. It's all included in membership, or if you're, not ready to be a member, you can pay for that series of 8 classes. And then we have the championship series for our advanced and intermediate players. So we're really trying to feed it as a sport and make everyone feel like an athlete while they're there.
It's interesting, like coming from Nashville, we actually just had one designated facility and the rest were kind of just public parks. And then now I'm in New York where there's a lot more options. And so it's interesting now that like I have to choose where I'm going to, join and just like the different factors that I take into consideration. And a lot of it is just like court accessibility, like who has the best community too. I feel like with pickleball too, it's so important, like you say, like on a Saturday, who wants to like hang out there for several hours and be able to meet people around where they live. And that's the nice thing. Like last night I just played with a bunch of people that not all of us knew each other and it's so fun to be able to like go to a club and just to have that accessibility.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, that's one of the reasons, right, why most of our clubs and what we're moving towards is being a members only facility, right? Because I think it really glues the community together. And like you said, people they want to be local. It needs to be convenient. It needs to be the people that they're surrounded with on a daily basis that there are now in this club. And I think, the clubs that, which is about half of them, have moved towards being members only. The members have been really, really appreciative and excited because there's not random energy and random people taking their courts and monopolizing things while they're a paying member, right? So we really try to glue that community together and keep it kind of hyper local.
Yeah, no, I love that. So how many clubs nationwide does Ace have and kind of how many in your dream world would you have down the road?
Yeah, we've got 20 open right now. We'll have another 6 or 7 open by the end of this year. And then by the end of Q1, we should be up around 35. And that's all based on leases signed, what's under construction, et cetera. So by the end of the next year, I think we'll be, somewhere between 50 and 60 for sure. In a dream world, look, I think as this sport continues to grow, and we activate new players to the game everywhere we go. I mean, the sky's sort of the limit on number of locations. The speed in which we get there, right? There are some prohibiting factors, right? Like real estate that make it more difficult to go from 60 to 600, right, in a period of time. But I really think the sky's the limit. As long as we and I think the industry as a whole continues to do its part in activating new people to the sport and giving them a pathway to learn, right? It's going to become addicting for a lot of people. So, yeah, I don't know what the number is, but right now the focus is on making each club as successful as it possibly can be.
Course. No, I love that. And obviously, being in the franchising world for a while, how important is it to find a high quality franchisee? And kind of how do you find those owners that you would like to work with? And like, what qualities do you look for and in someone like that?
Yeah, I think the number one thing for us, we do go a lot on gut. And our team as a whole has a lot of franchise experience and have worked with a lot of amazing franchisees over the years, and also some franchisees that you say, "Huh, didn't really like working with
Yeah.
them," and here's why, right? So I think we go on gut a lot, and the airport test, right? Your flight's canceled. Could you survive a day in there with that person? So we do it a lot based on that and on gut and on feel. Um, we won't bat 1,000 on franchisees. Nobody does, even the biggest brands in the world. But it is critical to bat a high percentage there, right? You need, if 80% of our franchisees were, A, great people, great to work with, but B, follow the system, right? I think we'll be in good shape.
And the nice thing about working with franchises, just from my experience speaking with the owners, is like you guys have a structure, you guys have standards that each owner has to meet. I think, it's interesting speaking with facility owners, some independent, some not. There's just so much unknown. Like we like to call it like the pickleball industry is the wild, wild west. And of course, you're going to learn as you go. But how much, especially if the owner, let's say, is not super involved in their local pickleball community or doesn't know as much about the sport, how much goes into educating these owners and just getting them on track so that they do open a successful business that stays up to the Ace Pickleball Club standards?
Yeah, so our L&D team, our learning and development team, is just simply outstanding.
Yeah.
Disney, Universal background, which are known for their training. It's huge. And we have multiple elements, right? We have an online LMS. We have 3 different trainings that happen in onboarding, which is early on in their development process. They come out to Atlanta for a full week with their management team. We then send a team for a week to their location as they're opening. So it's really critical. I think where the franchisee, plays a really critical role, obviously, is in their desire and their motivation, right, to absorb that and also to inspire their leaders that they're hiring at the local level, right, to buy in. Because one thing we know about this business for sure, it takes some time to ramp, right? we have some clubs that came out of the gate hot, filled up, great. Most of the clubs out there, there's a ramp period, and it can get a little bit scary. It's like, well, why don't I have 1,000 members in 6 months? That's where I thought I would be. It's like, well, because you have to build it. So along that way, along that path, right, to stay dedicated to the system and the vision, it's very difficult. And some franchisees, I think most of our franchisees do a great job of that and inspiring their team to stick with it because there is an end to the rainbow, right, somewhere. So I think a lot of it is the belief, the alignment with the vision.
What is the biggest challenge that you've dealt with pickleball facility franchising that you didn't really see in your previous experience, and kind of how did you overcome that challenge?
Well, I think you nailed it earlier in that it's the Wild West, right? And I think there's a lot of opinions out there, and I think the loudest voices are actually coming from the minority, right? And when you enter a new market, a new community, again, there's this minority of players who they all kind of want something different, but they will tell you, well, if you just do A, B, and C, I'm going to get these other 30 people to come and join. And then you do A, B, and C, and three of them join. And now you've just changed, you've shifted everything for this little group of people and what they want, right? And so I think that one of the biggest challenges is to, I don't want to say not listen to that group. You have to listen, but you also have to say, is this an idea that scales and works for the majority? Or is this an idea that is really only going to please this little group? And now I've ostracized, right, the rest of the community, right? And so that's been very difficult to discern. I will say, one big piece of it with this being the Wild West, you have to have a partner, right? I think my advice to anyone getting into this industry is have a business partner because the number of bad ideas that I've had is astounding. And if I was the sole decision maker, I think this whole company would be on fire right now. Um, and I think Jay would say the same, right? My partner is the same, right? I've talked him out of a lot of bad ideas too. So you have to have someone to balance you and to say, look, I understand why you're thinking this would be a good pathway, um, but it's not, and here's why, right? So you need someone on sort of equal footing to balance you when it is the Wild West and you could literally take the train off any track or off any rail at any time.
Yeah. And what about on the other side, the most rewarding part about opening up, now 20 Ace Pickleball franchises nationwide?
Yeah, I think honestly, it just comes down to the members and some of the stories that we've heard in the local markets, right? A dad that recently went through a divorce and sort of turned to alcohol and was on a slippery slope and found Ace Pickleball Club. And, because our membership is, we don't schedule open play, right? I mean, you can just show up and play anytime you want. I mean, he's there a lot and it's sort of replaced the bar for him. And he's gotten on just the right track for him and what he wanted out of life versus where he was, right? The number of people that felt really unhealthy, right, and found Ace Pickleball Club, and now they feel super healthy, right? Their heart's better, they've lost some weight, whatever it may be. Those stories are just they're really inspiring, and there's a ton of them out there, and we don't get to hear all of them, obviously, because not everybody's vocal and shares them, but we do hear some of them, and it's really rewarding to be able to offer something to people that improves their life, right? And makes their life better.
That it literally is the best thing about pickleball. It's like funny. I grew up playing a lot of sports. I covered a lot of sports in my broadcasting world, but it's always like these stories I hear through pickleball. Like I'll never forget this one story about a guy who was literally homeless in Florida, moved there and living out of a van, like had literally one leg, and his whole pickleball community who he just happened to stumble upon got him a home, got him a prosthetic. I mean, and it was funny. We ended up actually he got his prosthetic in Nashville. So we actually ended up doing a news story on him, which was so awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, just hearing these stories, I feel like I have not found another sport where it just genuinely is so life changing to so many different types of people. So I can only imagine the stories that you hear, at your clubs.
Oh yeah, yeah, and we want to find a way to to build those stories and build them into a larger community, right? And I think the more people share those stories, the better, because there's a lot of people in some dark places right now in their lives for sure. You didn't know this podcast was going to go down this lane, did you? This rabbit hole, but
You
uh,
never know.
but there are, and pickleball is not the only way out. Of course, there's a ton of great things that people can do in their lives, but pickleball is certainly one of them. And I do think about my mom too, and this is not quite on the scale of the stories that we're telling and sharing, but my mom, she was an athlete growing up. I mean, she was a great basketball player, volleyball, in Southern California. She coached, youth sports all through my life. But, she had the same two, three friends my entire life, right? And when she got into her 50s and 60s, she stopped playing sports naturally. I think most people do. When she found pickleball, it was just incredible, the life that it gave her, the energy. I was home for Christmas one year, and she's talking about Dave and Betty and these, and I'm like, who are these people? You know what I mean? You've had the same friends my whole life. It's like, oh, they're my pickleball friends. So to just see, the even on a bum knee, right? She was feeling very healthy, physically healthy, mentally healthy, socially it expanded. So even just, it doesn't have to be a, rock bottom rise, right, for pickleball, but just taking your life and just adding these positive elements. I've seen it firsthand, as have you.
Yeah, no, that's so amazing. And just last thing for anyone listening, if they want to see if there's an Ace Pickleball Club near them or potentially become a franchisee, how can they do so?
Sure. So you would just go to acepickleballclub.com. You can click find a club right there and type in your zip code. It'll pull you to the nearest location. It'll also show you up and coming locations that may be opening soon as well, so you can plan for that. And then there's a link right on there to click for franchise information as well.
Awesome. Well, Joe learned so much about franchising and Ace Pickleball Club. So exciting to see what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll stay tuned to see who will join us in the kitchen next time.